So I've been asked a few times recently what sort of things I take bouldering with me in terms of climbing shoes or other bits of kit. So I'm going to do a little video just about what I would take, and this has kind of changed over the years. But yeah, this is roughly the kit that I would take bouldering outside. So to start with the bag, over the years I've had bigger bags. I've had bags with like fancy compartments and different things in them. What I've generally found is that the less stuff there is on a bag, the less stuff there is to go wrong. I think bags now that are a little bit more simple, have got a bit less going on in them. And I also like bags that are a little bit smaller. I think it's very easy when you have a bigger bag to carry more stuff. The bigger the bag, the more you put in it, you just fill it essentially. So I find if I bring a smaller bag, it forces me to take a bit less stuff. So this moon bag, the roll top, is pretty simple. It's got one zip on the top and it's got the little strap so you can roll it up and then cinch it up so it'll pack down even a little bit smaller than the actual size of it. It's got two little pouches on either side that are elasticated. They're really good for like keeping a water bottle or something in. I do generally use them. Sometimes I just put like rubbish in them that I empty at the end of the day, so the rubbish doesn't get kind of stuck with all the other stuff in the bag. And sometimes I'll put a bottle of water, or I'll put a piece of fruit or something in there. Yeah, simple straps, no waist belt, no chest strap. I find if I'm carrying a lighter bag, I don't really need either of those things. A lot of the time as well, my bag will actually go inside my pad. So I don't even really carry the bag all that often. And if I am carrying the bag, I'm carrying it on its own and there's probably not that much stuff in it. So I don't really need a waist belt and a chest strap. So then inside the bag, so I'm going to the coast today. So I've got a little jet blower. These things are brilliant. They're great for improving conditions a little bit on a hold. So you can really like blast a hold to get rid of any like moisture or chalk that's kind of stuck on the hold. In certain situations, they're useful for drying holds as well. I've actually used them on some rock types to dry out holds, and they make a really big difference doing that. Obviously with a leaf blower, it's a much bigger thing. You've got to carry batteries with it, but it lasts a lot longer. This thing is small, light. This thing will get the majority of holds kind of dried or cleaned, and yeah, it doesn't weigh much. You can easily recharge them, take it out every day. There's generally now, most of the time I go out, there's not really a reason for me not to take this thing. If I know that there's either going to be potentially a wet hold or a damp hold, or I'm just going to want to like blast it on a hold that's like really condition dependent, I'll use it for that. So the next thing's a Makita battery. So I'll usually take the Makita fan as well, so having the battery is essential. I'm generally taking a 5 amp battery. Personally, in the time that I've been using a fan, it's pretty rare in a session that I've needed more than a 5 amp battery's worth of power in the standard kind of slim Makita fan. If you've got the big boy fan, you're going to go through batteries a lot quicker, but with the slim fan, these things are fine. Tea towel. I'll always take a tea towel. Useful for just cleaning your shoes. You never know, you might want to like use it to like waft around, like get rid of cobwebs or dust and stuff off holds. Sometimes you need to use it maybe just to dry a hold, or yeah, they're just kind of, you can use them for a lot of things. If you're starting a particular problem and you don't really need a pad, but you need somewhere just to keep your shoes clean, you can put it down. It doesn't weigh much. Yeah, really useful. The next thing we got is a fingerboard. So this is an ash climbing offcut board. It's got a 20mm edge and it's got a 15mm edge. And I will use this to warm up every session. A lot of the time I'll even use it inside to warm up. I'll use it in conjunction with a resistance band. So obviously the band you use will vary depending on a lot of things, the level you're at, your weight, etc. For me, I'm using this mint band, and what I'm doing is I'm folding it up 3 times usually, clipping it through the fingerboard, and then I'm usually putting my foot in this and just using the fingerboard and kind of building up the intensity that way as I start my warm-up. I see a lot of people use just a piece of rope or a piece of sling instead of the band, and that's fine, it'll do a job. Personally, I prefer the bands because I can actually much more easily control the resistance. Obviously if you start, you can start to pull way more and get way more resistance with the band. Obviously with a static sling or a piece of rope or whatever, the resistance doesn't actually change. So I prefer doing this way. Again, super light. I don't need to carry a full size fingerboard unless I'm going somewhere with a bolt. Then maybe I can clip the fingerboard to a bolt and then I can do 2 arm pull-ups. But generally going bouldering, you've not got anywhere to do that, so having the offcut and a band is all you need. The next resistance band, so this one's thinner than the mint one, and this is the one I'll use to do a warm-up with. So I'll do kind of shoulder mobility work with this, basically warm up a lot of muscle groups just with that band after doing like a bit of cardio or whatever. Again, super light. Some people might use the mint band for what I use this for, and that's fine. It's just kind of what I would recommend is getting to a shop, trying a few different bands, working out which you need for which, and then getting some of these. I prefer these types of resistance band to the classic kind of TheraBand. I don't know how many TheraBands I went through over the years, just tearing the damn things. They catch on bits of rock, or they catch on your bag, or they catch on anything, and they rip really easily. These things, I think I've had 1 of these mint ones, and I've maybe had 2 of these yellow ones, so they last a good while. Chalk bag, self-explanatory. So again, chalk bags, a little bit of personal preference. I like them nice and simple. So this one just has a roll top with the little clip to close it. Velcro is useful as well. I think another cool thing is the little buttons or little magnetic poppers. They're really useful. But personally, I've never had much of an issue where I put the chalk bag down and usually it folds kind of shut anyway. So yeah, I prefer chalk bag without any sort of lining on the inside. I find it just adds weight and I don't really get any benefit from the feel or anything of it. And also if you get it wet or damp, it takes longer to dry. If there's moisture in it, it takes longer to dry. So I'd prefer just a simple, like this is literally just the fabric and no liner on the inside. In terms of stuff inside the chalk bag, at the moment I've got a bunch of brushes in various states of wear. I've also got some Tokyo Powder React, which is useful for when your skin is particularly sweaty. It's kind of like a base layer. I've used nearly all of this. Sander, again really useful. Sand your skin down, get rid of any of those little edges or things, or lips, or thick skin. Tape, yeah, you're always gonna have a roll of tape. You never know when you're gonna need that. Okay, so climbing shoes. So today I've got 3 pairs that I'm taking. I've got a pair of Furia Airs. I've got a pair of Scarpa Instinct VSI LVs. And a pair of Drago XTs. So in terms of climbing shoes, I'm nearly always taking 2 to 3 pairs of climbing shoes with me. What you see here is a representation of what I will nearly always take. The Furia Airs will come everywhere, every session. There's never a time I don't think that I'll go climbing without those being in the bag. 1, because I just tend to use them so much on so many things. 2, they're so light, they don't weigh anything, they pack up really small. There's literally no reason not to take them. They're literally like a secret weapon that I will always have. Instincts. So the pair of instincts that I take will depend on where and what I'm climbing on. So certain rock types, I prefer the orange ones with excess edge. Other rock types and different boulders, I prefer these or the standard VS or the VS women's, the mint ones. But I will always have 1 pair of instincts with me every time I go climbing. It just depends on the rock type and the boulder I'm climbing on as to which pair it'll be. Sometimes it may even be the slippers. And then Dragos. I'll generally always take a pair of Dragos as well, whether it's the yellow ones or it's the LVs or it's these. At the moment I'm favouring these a little bit more because I prefer the heel and I prefer the tension from the 2 straps. If I know I'm going to something that's toe hooking, I'll probably bring the LVs or the yellow ones. But at the moment, not doing that many boulders that are toe hooking, I'm bringing these. I find with these kind of 3 pairs of shoes, I can do almost everything. There's pretty rarely something that I can't do with one of these shoes. If I can't do it with a Furia Air, the chances are I can do it with an Instinct. If I can't do it with an Instinct, the chances are I can do it with those. So yeah, between these 3 pairs, I can kind of cover all bases, I find. So that's shoes. Okay, last 2 things in the bag. We've got a knee pad and we've got some duct tape for said knee pad. As time goes by and I use knee pads more, I'm finding myself seeing opportunities to use them more. And there's a reason now you see people like Dave Graham wearing them on almost every boulder, because the more you climb in them, the more you see opportunities to use them. So this is the thicker of the 2 Send versions. Sometimes I'll use the thinner one, sometimes I'll use this thicker one, kind of depends on the boulder and the knee bar or scum, depending on what it is. The duct tape, usually I'll use the duct tape at the top, so obviously the knee pad doesn't slide around as much. Depending on the knee scum or the knee bar, depending on how finicky it is, will kind of depend on whether I use the duct tape. I don't just use the duct tape every time, as it's just a faff. So that's pretty much it. Everything's packed in the bag. Obviously, besides food, water and the camera that's there on the tripod, that's everything else that I would really take out on a bouldering session. If I've not put the links in the description for anything that I've mentioned and you've got any questions, just put a comment down below and I'll get to those. But otherwise, time to go for a session.